Hello, and welcome to the Child Trauma Therapy Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Jack from Lord of the Flies. So, Jack, how are you feeling today?
I'm pretty good. My kids, they just graduated from college a few weeks ago. As the man in the house, I was trying to get my son to follow in my footsteps, but unfortunately he went into the pediatric unit, so I'm a little disappointed in that, but it's okay. It's okay.
So, how do you feel about your son not having a position of leadership in society?
Well, it's a little disappointing, because us men, we're supposed to lead everyone. That's our job.
It's 2017, Jack. Get over it. But moving on, I want to ask you, what motivated you to take position of leader on the island?
Well, it just seemed like the logical choice, It was a little weird that Ralph actually got to be leader. I thought it was pretty unfair, seeing as that he was just some random kid, and I had at the top of that ladder. Now that I've been through high school and college, I've always been at the top of everything else. So it's just kind of the thing that I do.
But why did you feel the need to always be in a position of power?
Well, no one wants to be a follower. Someone has to make the most money and have the most power. Someone has to be a leader in our community.
Well, how did you feel knowing that Ralph had more power over you?
I don't think he deserves that. I, again, was the leader. No, it was just really frustrating to me. I know that they tried to make up for it by making me the head of the hunters, which was pretty cool, but it didn't make sense that he was the leader, so that's why I ended up taking things into my own hands.
And how exactly did you do that, Jack?
Well, we naturally just kind of formed two tribes. It just kind of happened on its own. Yeah, it was all very peaceful, but those who really wanted to survive came over and stuck with.
Well, that's not what I heard, but we'll get back to that on our interview with Ralph. So, is your perspective on power in our country and in humanity as a whole, would you say that's similar to Donald Trump's?
Well, I actually really look up to Donald Trump. I think that we are pretty similar. I really appreciate his honesty and how he's taking things into his own hands. That's, kind of what I had to do on the island, just making sure that I took control of the situation since Ralph was not being adequate. I especially admire how he's, taking the situations of North Korea and, Russia, and he's making alliances where there need to be alliances and taking things head on.
So, did you think that your version of taking things head on was
There's a
good for
primitive need
humanity
inside all
on
of
the
us to
island?
just survive, and I think that on the island that I needed to put myself into a position of power if others wouldn't, so that I could make sure that we would survive. And actually, you can see that most of us did, so I did my job pretty well. Humanity on the island was just overall better off whenever I was the leader instead of Ralph.
All right, Jack. Well, that's all the time we have for you today. We'll be back with an interview with Ralph after this quick message from our sponsors. Hello, and welcome back to the Child Trauma Therapy Podcast. Today we have an interview with Ralph.
Hello, it's great to be here today.
So, how have you been doing since the island?
I've been doing okay since the island. I haven't really been the same person. I have sort of trust issues now, but that's okay.
No, Ralph, we need to talk about this. How does it feel knowing you are outcasted?
Well, on the island, you see, I was kind of forced to do things on my own since I was outcasted, so growing up, I never really had anybody there for me, so I just had to learn how to survive on my own and really focus on myself.
And how was it to suddenly become the parent to all the boys on the island without the guidance of your family?
But like I said, I never really had a family growing up because I was forced on the island and trust issues, but yeah, it was difficult to be like a dad to all the boys on the island. It was really hard to step into that role, one I needed to fulfill for myself too, but it required me to grow up faster than I should have, but I turned out okay, I guess.
How did being on the island compare to social structures in high school?
In high school, most kids are just trying to survive, which was kind of what we were doing on the island, just trying to survive and join together. However, a few of us kind of branched out and went on our own and screwed us all over.
So, are you referring to Jack there? Do you have any resentment towards him?
No, I have forgiven Jack, but he did, however, destroy the community that I was trying to build on the island where everybody was working together and joining up for a common goal. However, he split us apart, made us all turn on each other, which is not how a community is supposed to be.
So, Jack destroyed the community for power. How do you feel about if that connects to our government today?
Well, you see, in our country today, we have a democracy, and that's what I was trying to establish on the island. However, Jack took over and made it more like a dictatorship where he took all of the power and took over my power, which my power was shared with everybody equally. And I tried to make an island that was survivable for everybody, but he took that over and made it about
So
himself.
how did the situation on the island with Jack affect your view on humanity?
In the beginning, we were all one as humanity, but towards the end, Jack started to cancel people out and make people isolated, which it's not what humanity is about. And when Jack isolated people, he lost his humanity, and we were all forced into survival mode, and Jack went back into his primal instincts for survival and didn't join together and help everybody survive. He took over and tried to better himself, which is not what humanity is about.
Well, thank you, Ralph, for that knowledgeable perspective. And that's all we have today for the Child Trauma Therapy podcast. So tune in another time.